Welcome to the 10-Minute Treasure. My name is Jeff Pospisil, and I've been doing this series called Odd on Purpose. Odd on Purpose, where I just look into one of the weird things that I do that is part of my life and just share with you. Some of these are just typical accountant things. Some of them are just odd. And this week's one is just probably different than most people, is that I'm a Methodist, and yet I go to confession every week. So that's a little bit different. So why do I go to confession every week? So like I said, I'm Methodist. I'm not Catholic. So I'm not going to a Catholic church and going to, a confessional. I don't even know what that little booth thing is with the screen and talking to the priest. I'm not doing that. So I am doing the Methodist version of that, where people confess their sins to everyone in the group. So there's a group of 3 or 4 people, and you take turns confessing and then praying over them. So why did I start doing this? Well, it all happened about 7 or so years ago when I saw this video by Kevin Watson describing the band meeting. And so that's what the Methodist confession's called. It's called the band meeting. There might be other names too that people use, but I saw it, and I just knew at that time that I was struggling spiritually. You know, you go through tough things, and I needed accountability, but I also needed somebody that really, really knew what I was going through, probably more so than even the accountability. I think I was hard enough on myself already, but actually to have somebody cheer for me that knew what I was really going through was a huge leap for me. So I watched Kevin Watson's videos. I did my own research on the Wesleyan band meeting, and I read his book, and I'm going to put links in the description in case you want to know more. And so I just called up a friend, or maybe he called me, I don't remember, but one way or another, we were both at the same point in our life, and we just decided, let's do it. And I've been doing it ever since. And sometimes our groups, as people move away or their life changes, sometimes the group has changed, but we've normally been 2 to 4 people, and pastors and lay people. And it has really been a blessing for me. It's seen me through some really hard times. I want to say I was not in a good place before I went into this band meeting. And now, although I still struggle at times, sometimes very significantly, I'm not struggling alone anymore. So that's one of the biggest differences. So I want to share with you exactly what my band meeting looks like. And I want to share it with you because I think it's going well. And maybe it'll give you a picture in your head. So if you wanted to do this yourself, or maybe you're doing it and it's going a little clunky or something like that, then maybe you can correct. So I'm going to just share with you this, and then, do with it what you want. I also had a document when we very first started. I just copied down John Wesley's rules for band societies and made so that gives you the order of how this runs. And it also helps you see who might be a good candidate to join a band meeting. And then on the other side is John Wesley's definition of sin. And I did alter that a little bit to flesh it out. And I'll talk about a little bit why that's important later. So what happens is you need to pick a day and a time that works pretty much every week. So a day and a time that works almost every week. And then also what you need is a place that is private. So right now we meet at my friend Bill's house, and we meet on Saturday morning at 8:30 a.m. And almost probably 50 out of 52 Saturdays we're there. So what we do is we gather at 8:30. We just visit actually for the first half an hour. So because we want to catch up, and it's Saturday, so we're kind of taking it easy. But then my friend Dwayne's alarm will go off, and all of a sudden at 9 o'clock, we know it's time to get down to business, and it's time to start to get going all the way. I do find that time of social just helps, whether it's 5-10 minutes or anything like that. It just helps to, build the relationship between the other men in the group or the other people in the group. So then what'll happen at 9 o'clock for me, somebody reads James chapter 5, verses 13 through 20. So it's James chapter 5, verses 13 through 20. And the reason why that's important is there's verse 16, which is what John Wesley based this practice off. So if you read verse 16, Confess your sins to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. And that's really what we're hoping and experiencing, that the Lord will heal us through our confessions to one another. So then we'll take turns confessing. So one person, so let's just say I'm going to confess. I will think through my week, and I've already thought through it before I get there usually. And there will usually be 1 to 3 items that I think I need to lift up where my conscience was pricked. We did define sin, by the way, just in case, so that we're not just complaining or maybe airing our frustrations or something like that, but we try to stick to a sin. So like on the sin side, the harm that you do, we define that as the 7 deadly sins. Then there's the good that you neglect to do, and John Wesley had a list of those. And then there's the ordinances of God that you've neglected. So prayer, Bible study, fasting, something like that. So what did you commit to do to the Lord and you didn't follow through? So you should have something specific. And that's really what the role of the group is, to help you, is to, you might be explaining the situation and maybe a little bit of how you got there. By the way, John Wesley, he gave you a number of different questions. First of all, confess the sins that you did, or confess the temptations and how you fled them, or confess the things that you didn't know was sin or not, or confess that you have something that you don't want to confess. So those are basically the 4 things. So those are the kinds of things that you're confessing. So what I would do is I might share, maybe, for example, let's just say I struggled with gluttony, and I say, man, this week I struggled with gluttony. And a good band member would be asked something like, how so? And I might say, well, I bought an entire package of Oreos and I ate them in one sitting. And they might go, wow, why did you do that? Or what what led up to that? Or maybe they'll ask some questions. One of the important things, and this was a hard lesson, is you're really not trying to fix people at this time. You're not trying to fix people at all, because guess what? That's why we're in this, is that we can't fix ourselves, and I don't think you can fix me either. So we can give advice, but that's always counterproductive. So if somebody says, well, why don't you go to the grocery store always with somebody else that you don't buy a bag of Oreos? That might work, but guess what? I will order them from Amazon then. So, I mean, there's always a way around it. That's the problem. So what I really want to do is I want to confess it, and I want to be real. And I want people, if you're real about it, then it just helps, I think. It helps you move forward. And then what somebody will do is they will pray for you. And normally we gather around each other, lay hands on them, and somebody will pray. And they'll declare forgiveness, and then they might pray something else, maybe for victory or something like that. So, and it's really nice. What I remember, especially the very first times we did this, and usually still, actually, after all these years, you feel a little bit of a lightness. So you feel like, again, like you've been carrying around a bag of rocks and you just dumped out at least half of them, if not more. So I just find that very interesting. After somebody prays for you, it's very interesting. And then this is the difference between the Methodist and the Catholic, by the way, is then the person that prayed for you often is the next one to confess their sins. So 1 second, they are being basically Jesus Christ to you in a way. They're bringing Christ to you. They're bringing the goodness of God to you. And then the next instant, they are receiving that grace from somebody else in the group. And so this idea that you have to be holier than thou in order to be used by the Lord is completely gotten rid of in this case. We all know we're sinners. That's why we're there. And we're all being used by the Lord to help each other out at the same time. So I just love that. It's kind of beautiful. And so we go around. If there's 4 people, go clockwise or counterclockwise. I try to mix it up so I don't always pray for the same person every time, although there's nothing wrong with that. But I just do find that beneficial. And then at the end, we're done. So after we get through the 4th person, we're done. And, we got one guy that's a hugger, so we end up hugging more often than I'm used to, which isn't bad. I kind of prefer a firm handshake, but a hug is also nice at times as well. So, that's what my band meeting looks like. So the other thing that people will sometimes ask is, well, don't you have to really know somebody before you do this? And I'm going to say, you probably won't really know somebody unless you do this. So, I mean, I have friends and I've got to know them a whole lot deeper, but I've had other people that I wanted to be friends and I just asked them out of the blue. And you can kind of tell if somebody, has kind of that hunger for holiness, and maybe they've confessed just enough, that they struggle and that they're striving. So like I've asked people that, one guy I just barely knew. I knew of him, but he was a pastor and I really respected him. And we were in a coffee shop and first time really getting together, and I just asked him and he was like, okay. And it was really helpful for me and for him to be part of that group. And so I don't know if you have to really choose your best friend or anything like that, but choose somebody that is also hungry or thirsty for holiness. So hopefully that helps you. I'll leave some links in the description to Kevin Watson stuff, as well as that sheet that I developed. And I just want to encourage you one last time, if you're in leadership in a church, and especially a Methodist church or a Wesleyan church or a Nazarene church, anybody in that Methodist line, go ahead and adopt this. It will change your life. So I'm going to guarantee that I won't say it. The Lord will work through this to change your life. So you'll address sin openly and you'll receive the goodness of God freely through this. So that's my 2 cents. Until next time, God bless you.